Okay, to make this dress, you're gonna need some African print or whatever kind of material you want to use. My hands is ashy, golly. Some chalk pins. You're definitely gonna need more pins than that. Measuring tape, scissors, and 1/8 inch elastic, as well as stretch knit, whatever color you want to use, whatever matches with your fabric. Preferably, you're gonna need about half a yard of the African material and 1 yard of the regular stretch knit, depending on how big you are. I'm fairly small, so 1 yard is good enough for me. If you're on the larger side, I would say 1.5 yards, 2 yards, I guess.
Here's a diagram of the body measurements you'll need to take in order to make this dress. I started out by folding the fabric to the width of my hips, and then I cut the length of the dress to which I desired it, and then I cut out the width of my hips while it was folded to give me the 2 panels of the dress that I needed. I then measured it out to make sure that I had cut it even. I folded it over and then adjusted it so that the corners of the open ends aligned with the corners of the folded ends, and then I adjusted the straight edges of the open ends so that it aligns with the folded part, so that when I cut it, I wouldn't cut it uneven. I then pinned the fabric down to keep the fold in place. Next, I measured where my waist needed to be accounted for and marked it. Using fabric chalk, I drew diagonally from my arms inwards to where my waist is accounted for, and then back outwards to account for my hips. I then cut along the chalk line, and then I separated the pieces by cutting the folds. I measured the width of the top of my dress to where my arm started and marked it. I then measured the length where my arm ended and marked it. Using the fabric chalk, I then drew a line connecting the 2 markings I made and curved it down for my arms. I then cut that piece off.
After you finish cutting everything and pinning it, this is what it'll look like. So at this moment, you want to set this aside and then take the other material that you're working with. So you want to cut 2 11.5 inch strips, and that's going to be the top part of your dress. So for the top part, you want to cut some elastic, some 1/4, or is that 1/8? 1/8 inch elastic. Around my shoulders is 44 inches. So what I did was I took 25% of that off, leaving me with 33 inches. So 33 inches of elastic is what you want to cut.
There you go. You want to sew about 1/2 inch of the top part down, and that's where you'll feed the elastic through.
So you're going to feed the loop feeder through one side and come into the middle where the seam is. Grab the elastic and pull through. So when you get onto this side, to hold the elastic in place, you can just tie it to this right here, and that will hold it in place so that it doesn't pull through on the other side. Through the other side. And do the same thing. Then untie this right here.
Here you can either sew the elastic together or you can tie them in a knot. I chose to tie them in a knot, but you don't want to feed the elastic through the ruffle part until after you sew it to the dress. You then want to distribute the ruffles evenly along the elastic, but only after you sew it to the dress.
So afterwards, it should look like this. It should look like I'm in a tutu skirt. Take your skirt or your dress and you want to go on ahead and sew it along the sides. right there. And then when you're finished sewing that, you then want to turn the armpit area in about 1/4 of an inch and then sew along there as well. So in the process of it, I got confused. Initially I had put the elastic through this part first, and then I was gonna attach it, but I couldn't quite figure out how to make it work. So what I did was I took the elastic out, and then I sewed the top part of the dress to the ruffle part. And what I did was I stretched the fabric out so that it would lay out with the African material, and then I sewed it along the top edge of it. So after I sewed the front and the back to it, I then inserted the elastic through an opening, one of the seam openings that I had made when I connected it, like one of these right here. I fed the elastic through there and pulled it out, and then I tied it in a knot. So
sorry for the change up, guys, but I said the wrong thing when I was recording. I put the right side of the ruffle fabric on the wrong side of the stretch knits fabric,
so that when I flipped it around on the right side, it would cover the seams. So when you flip it around, this is what it will look like. So this is the right side of the fabric for the African print, and this is the right side of the fabric for the knit. So at this point, what you're going to do is just hem around here, hem around this, and then you're also going to hem the bottom part of the dress, and you're done. And voila, the dress is done. So if you like this tutorial and you want to see more tutorials from us, please do not forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you like this tutorial. Until we meet again, bye bye everyone.